a platform that brought together the country's top minds to deep dive into sector-specific challenges and opportunities. ServiceNow presents the Economic Times India Leadership Conclave 2021. A digital platform provides the opportunities to discuss the current milieu of disruption and change and the opportunities and maneuvering required to steer one of the greatest economies out of this disruption. The Leadership Conclave started with an inaugural session setting the tone by Arun Balasubramanian, Managing Director, India and SAARC, ServiceNow.
It's a pleasure and honor to be amongst all of you. Kudos to the organizers for curating this experience during these challenging times. And thank you all for taking time to be here to witness what India Leadership Conclave has in store for all of us. No doubt, science and technology is absolutely at its forefront today. And let's not forget the people who are driving it, our employees, our customers, and our community. We know we had work to do quickly to solve some of the world's most difficult challenges, one workflow at a time, and here we are. We are all a part of an ecosystem, and to ensure this ecosystem thrives, it is something that we have taken up on ourselves at ServiceNow. We realize that we are at the epicenter of workflow revolution, and we know the world is counting on us to make the world of work better for everyone. We realize it's time not for linear thinking, but for exponential thinking. And we are helping our customers dream big and build their digital bridge to the future. And it's such an honor to be able to do that. We are all familiar with the phrase that go big or go home. We are already at home. So we have only one way to go, which is to go big. We got the best engineering teams, and we got the best engineering teams in the business, and we are so proud of them. Our engineers are always at the edge of innovation. And in the last 18 months, they've doubled the functionality of the Now platform. We now build workflows in days and weeks, like our emergency response application, like our safe workplace applications. And most importantly, we leaned in to solve the biggest workflow issue of this generation, that is turning vaccines into vaccinations. Our customers count on us for the next step towards digital transformation. Our 14,000 strong team can build whatever workflows our customers dream of in record time and deliver scalable solutions across all industries. One architecture, one data model, one platform. Let's workflow it.
Next up is the address by the guest of honor on telecom's critical role in nation building.
Significantly, this summit is virtual. It is riding on the connectivity and carriage provided by telecom. So this underlines the need of telecom in the modern economy, in the modern world, and the pandemic, which was triggered by COVID-19, has in fact demonstrated how critical the telecom networks infrastructure are. We are well aware that during the lockdown, when there were no rails, no road connectivity, no airlines, people were inside their houses. It was only the carriage of our networks which connected all of us. Our networks enabled governance. They enabled the frontline workers in the health sector to communicate with each other. Teleconsultation by doctors. Socially also, they brought us together. I believe that the growth story of any nation today, which of course includes India, the essential ingredient is telecom. During pandemic times, our daily consumption of data, which was about 272 petabytes per day, actually went up to about 315, 320 petabytes per day, and we could sustain it. And today this has become stable at around 360 petabytes per day, which is really huge. Now with the advent of 5G, and I see 5G coming in India next year, 2022, this will transform our economic scenario. Not only will enhanced mobile broadband be there, which is a small application of 5G, the real benefit will come for Industry 4.0. I will conclude by saying that the growth story of any country cannot be written, the script cannot be there without telecom being central. The lead actor will be digital communications and a robust, vibrating, reliable, expanding telecom is sine qua non for growth of India.
Reviving India, the power of collaboration for change is the next keynote address.
The Indian economy is coming out of the second wave of the pandemic, and the atmosphere is one of cautious optimism. India's active case flow has declined to less than 7 lakh after 11 weeks. Also, less than 50,000 new cases have been reported for the first time after 3 months. The impact of the first wave is now clear. The GDP loss was to the tune of 7.3% in the financial year 21. Among all this, the silver lining is the double-digit growth recorded in the gross fixed capital formation aided by the government's push to infrastructure. But the private participation in the investment has been lackluster on account of uncertainties. RBI estimates real GDP growth at around 9.5% in 21-22. SBI's Wages Activity Index is witnessing a smart traction in June. Interestingly, rural economy seems to have recouped faster than the devastating impact in April and May. The question now is of sustainability of such recovery going forward. With good monsoon forecast this year, the rural demand is expected to remain strong, which will anchor the overall growth outlook. As far as banks are concerned, being an intermediary sector, we have high forward linkage, implying that we depend on demand for other sectors for our wages. Despite 3 rounds of stimulus, the utilization of sanctioned limit is only in the range of 60 to 70%. Therefore, there is also an element of risk aversion, which has an impacted growth as far as the trade and commerce is concerned. It is thus imperative that industry uses this opportunity and also avail the benefits of the PLI scheme and take the initiative to relocate international supply chains to India. As banks, we are committed to look at new sectors as opportunity for diversification.
ServiceNow presents the Economic Times India Leadership Conclave 2021, which brings veterans, policymakers and thought leaders together to discuss the opportunities and challenges in the post-pandemic world. Navigating businesses through the economic storm is the next thought leadership panel.
I have with me a great set of leaders, people across sectors, who will share their experiences and insights with us and also help us understand what really happened in the last 1 year, what were the changes which were permanent and what were the changes which were near term in this. So I will direct questions towards the CEOs. The first question, I think, to set a context would be, is the second wave more damaging than the first wave? We are in year 2 of COVID. I mean, I'm sure you must have worked on your forecasting models for the COVID impact. If we can, Mr. Venkatraman and Balasubramaniam can start in terms of, what damage have they seen in the second wave?
The psychological damage of wave 2 is much more. The COVID impact came close to all of us in companies, in families, with neighbors and friends and all that. For example, in our company, we lost 14 people in just 2 months, as opposed to 3 over a year in the last wave. And that just illustrates the situation. And because of that, the mood is more somber. And we expect, therefore, the economic recovery, particularly on the consumption side, to take a little longer than the first time. That's our sense. But at the same time, because of the availability of the vaccine and the speed at which vaccination is happening, which was not there in 2020, thereafter, once people are vaccinated, the recovery will be faster. So it's like more like a U curve, if I can say, as opposed to a V.
Coming from the insurance industry, we can definitely say that the impact of the pandemic has been of a much larger scale compared to wave one, because we did see the infection rates going up to as much as 4.4 lakhs, infections per week. And then we also saw the mortality rate hugely going up, while people are still trying to make a guess out of overall mortality, whether it is 4x, 6x, the various figures are floating around. But from insurance companies' perspective, we can definitely say that the impact has been quite severe. Both on the health insurance side, where the claims have been coming thick and fast, and also on the life insurance side, we are seeing early reporting from employer-employee segment and individual term segments. So if you ask, the impact has certainly been of a much higher order.
Yeah, I echo what both Venkatji and Mahesh said. The impact because of loss of lives, both in within the company and externally, is really the key reason why the second wave has been much more impactful. I think all of us have gone through that. While on the business side, we may have recovered better because we've already been prepared for the first wave. There was a lot of uncertainty, but in terms of the just loss of people and the mood, as Venkatji rightly said, is really what defines the second wave. And I think people are now a lot more cautious. Earlier, we were getting a lot of requests for people to come to start working in Jan, when things had settled down or seemed to have settled down. But now people are much more cautious despite vaccinations. Yeah.
It's very clear. I mean, I think this pandemic has not just been only a humanitarian crisis, and of course, inflicted a lot of tragic losses. It's also been a defining moment for business, right? And I guess the question was around that. So in short term, for most businesses, COVID-19 has been at least a stress test in many ways. They experienced a mix of challenges from office shutdown to shifts to remote working, to how they manage the budget. And then of course, rising worries about employees and health and cyber risk and so on and so forth. So that's a short-term, impact, if you may. But long-stand, I honestly believe that the fundamental question of resilience over efficiency, do you really, because pre-pandemic, if you may, everybody wanted to make their organizations and supply chains, not just for the IT companies, I'm saying broadly in the business, overdone on the efficiency side. But now there's a little bit of a rethink around, should efficiency be secondary to resiliency, meaning that, if you need to do something near shore, or what you need to do from a supply chain, you don't necessarily look for only efficiency, but can you also build in resilience in many ways?
From my perspective, COVID-19 has the largest and the fastest shift that one has ever seen in the behavior of the humans. And since people is a critical part of the technology industry that many of us like Sharad, Arun Balasubramaniam, frankly, there is no industry which is not a technology industry. So my point is that people are the center of the technology industry, and this COVID-19, we will have to calibrate into the behavioral changes. We will have to focus harder on people. We will have to focus harder on digitization. We will have to focus harder on reskilling and redevelopment. And more important is, we will have to take into account that the new jobs are being created by the new age companies.
Actually, pandemic has helped companies forge new and better ways of working. And in fact, I think we heard that from many leaders here in this panel as well. Indian organizations have led the uptake of digital experiences over the last few months at pace, driving experimentation and new thinking compared to the rest of the world. And technology has actually made it possible for us to stay connected, engaged, maintain productivity away from office. So India is actually, with India actually taking charge of its digital future, one of the biggest challenges which we still need to solve for is to overcome many of the old processes of the last half century that remained disconnected across systems and departments, leaving them absolutely vulnerable for a next major disruption, actually. So I truly believe, in my view, is in the decade ahead, business leaders will be tested on how they enable employees and their organizations to make the most of the digital workflow revolution. I think right strategy is essential. And when you connect every corner of your organizations through digital workflows, getting things done would be easier, and location would definitely cease to matter. So in my view, while there is so much done, there is lots to be done, and businesses that actually are embracing digitization would continue to remain more resilient and would fare better.
In ServiceNow presents the Economic Times India Leadership Conclave 2021. Next up is the highlights from the fireside chat on the topic of realigning strategies shaping up a sustainable financial ecosystem.
Without further ado, we're talking today about realigning strategies shaping up a sustainable financial ecosystem. It's no surprise, it's an obvious statement that the financial system, the ecosystem, has been really important, especially in this pandemic, in the lockdown, to keep the country running, to keep the economy going. I just want to start off first with Mr. Srinivasan. So let's talk about one thing, which is the backbone of the economy, which is really important, which is the MSMEs. Now, obviously, the pandemic had a really tough impact on them, and with the second wave and predicted third wave also, they're a worried lot. How can banks, which have also been badly burned by bad loans and precarious NPA situations, so how can banks help the economy, help these MSMEs, work with these MSMEs to ensure that, things, we get back some momentum, we keep going ahead?
I think, yeah, like you mentioned, it has been a tough time for everyone. I don't believe it's only for MSMEs or any one segment. Yeah, maybe they're more impacted. But I think the wave one, and in some sense, hopefully wave two, there's a lot of support that has gone in the form of the government guaranteed schemes, the officially approved moratorium restructuring programs. So I think the segment that has been pre-pandemic reasonably well run have enough avenues to recover from and come back to even keel. Those who've had sort of erroneous business models or have had struggles then certainly are more impacted. But I think as a system, we have to figure out how everybody can sort of be nurtured back. There are lots of, let's say, interventions that are there from the government, from the banking system, to make sure people are able to get back on their feet. But it's something that you can't just, put in one aspect and try and get the, believe that it'll all change. So it's going to be a lot of hard work for everybody. But the ecosystem that is being created to support all of them is evident. Banks are out on a limb trying to help customers as much as possible through all bona fide means.
Last almost we have like 2.2 crore or 22 million accounts newly opened, right? And that's a very large number. Why? Again, because of various reasons that people had to stay at home for long. And so they kept on watching you all the time. And you kept on exhorting them about markets. After going down initially, markets have done well. That is also a reason why people have kind of been attracted. The second part is more interesting, is that because of the liquidity that has been infused across the world, there's been very low interest rates available from bank FDs. And that is actually sort of, you may not get your returns here. It may not be true, but in a way, people tend to predict future based on current or past. And that's where basically they have started actually moving away from FD or bank deposits into the stock markets. You can always say that it may not be that great for those savers, or it may be risky. But if you look at overall last 42 years, Sensex was 900 in 1979. Today, as you rightly said, is 53,000.
So, Sumit, the most important part is not about like in being a public sector or being privatization, because we have seen the success and the failure on both the sides. And I think it's very, very important to acknowledge the contribution made by the public sector financial entities, whether in the banking or the insurance. But definitely, I think going forward, the privatization would definitely help more for the customers. Okay. In terms of improving, because privatization means you really need to compete in the sector. And when you need to compete, you need to improve the services, you need to improve the offerings on your products and the services, and also using the technology. So I think this is something which would be very, very critical. But I think my feeling is that the continuous privatization, improving the governance would definitely help the system as such, and it would also be very, very important for the customer.
And the closing session is from the horse's mouth. Lessons learned on business continuity and crisis management by Dipali Goenka, CEO and Joint MD, Welspun India.
Never let a crisis go waste. As said by Winston Churchill, that is exactly what we did at Welspun. Crisis is the best time to implement strategies to reorient the organization towards new goals and new ways of working. Many of the short-term changes brought about by the COVID crisis will ultimately become long-term adjustments to fundamental parts of society and economy. Consumer behaviors are settling into new normal as people globally are learning to live with COVID-19. As a company who's at the forefront of innovations in textiles, we have been working on digital transformation initiatives even before COVID struck, and the pandemic has only accelerated the transformation initiatives with even greater emphasis on scale and speed. Fundamentally, the focus has been on collaboration, partnerships, digitization, and care across our value chain. The second wave of COVID-19 has been a lot more severe, and we at Welspun continue to stand in solidarity with an aim to support our members, ensure their well-being, and aid them as they navigate through the various challenges. We have undertaken several initiatives for our members' physical, mental, and financial well-being. For instance, we have set up COVID care centers and war rooms to help members leverage our resources and networks for emergencies such as sourcing of various amenities and requirements. The multifaceted war against the virus had the huge repercussions on world economies, livelihoods, jobs, human lives, and social fabric of human beings itself. With the introduction of social distancing, this is one of the biggest of the VUCA world. With every crisis comes change, and hence, as leaders in the industry, we need to learn, adapt, innovate, and be agile to emerge as winners from the crisis and not succumb to it. Thank you.